Hey everybody, welcome to another celebratory episode of Phil the Mic. I, as always, am Darrin Michael and flying solo again. And why is that? Because it turns out that since Aaron Rodgers had the mild calf strain, the Jets have called the quarterback guru Phil Calise in to work with Zack Wilson, and supposedly things are going really well. But that's never been the problem with Zack Wilson. He's always looked really good in practice, but it's the games that's the problem. Allen Iverson said it best. Man, it's practice. It's practice. Zach Wilson is the other way. Maybe he's like, it's games. It's games. I don't need to show up for the games. I'm a practice player. Well, you're making 4 million a year to look good in practice. That's not exactly what I had in mind. So good luck to you, Phil. I hope you can turn something out of nothing because that's how I feel about Zach Wilson. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. I just had a few things on my mind and figured I'd share them with everybody. Got my IU hat on. Since we've last talked, they got a transfer, a former five-star prospect. He was going to Oregon and wasn't getting utilized enough, so he comes over to IU and he's going to be the man in the middle, which is exciting. And then there was a guy from Duke who got out of his letter of intent, and he was a five-star guy. I think he's ranked number 9 in the country, and he signed with IU too. So, it's funny. The recruiting wasn't top notch. We got a point guard who I like. We got a shooting guard, but we got some front court guys this year, which is nice. Now we're just missing an outside scorer, and then I think we'd be a probably a top 10 team. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. I was nervous for a while there, but I'm excited about this season. It's going to be, hopefully we can get some more guys. Hopefully this season's success will allow us to get some more of these top guys that we're talking to, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, speaking of basketball, I was so excited. It was on Tuesday, it was the actual first game of the playoffs. And we didn't really have a great season. We were 4-4 this year, which is unfortunate after going 8-1 last year. We played so well. Uh, the team that we were supposed to face, they only had one guy show, so we won by forfeit, which is pretty crappy if you ask me. And but what do you do? What do you do? It is what it is, and a win is better than a loss, I guess. But the team we're playing next, I like to call them a team with the Twin Towers. They have two guys on their team. One guy is like 6'7", one guy is 6'9". And we've got some height too. We've got a guy at 6'5" and a guy at 6'7". Problem is, I just learned that our 6'5" guy won't be playing, so we're going to have some challenges. He's more of an outside guy, and their 6'9" guy isn't really too much of a post player, but I think he can hit an open shot if he has one. So, our 6'7" guy can match up on their 6'7" guy, and that should be a decent matchup because they're both big guys. But we're going to have some challenges with their other big guy. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll see. We'll see. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited that school is out. School officially ended this week. Brooke is now a senior. Aubrey's now a sophomore. Really, really exciting stuff. I can't believe it. It's making me feel even older than I already do, if that's even possible. But all good things here. It's Memorial Day weekend. I hope that everybody is excited for the 3-day weekend. I hope everybody has a 3-day weekend like I do. But let's jump into why I'm celebrating today. And for those of you that listen to the show, you know that there's a specific reason why I don't watch the NBA anymore. I used to enjoy the NBA a lot. I used to love the NBA. Ever since LeBron got into the NBA, and I just can't stand LeBron. You know that. Just if nothing else, just the flop videos. I mean, some of the time that you watch this guy, he doesn't even get touched and he flops. It's like the funniest thing ever. And people talk about him being really dominating and how he could play in any era. Well, let me tell you something. With how soft this guy is, could you imagine him playing in the 80s where they didn't even call fouls unless there was blood? I mean, going up against the Pistons, I mean, Lambeer would have beat the crap out of this guy. And all he would have done is cry about it. Well, I'm 6'8", I weigh 265, but I'm the biggest baby in the world. So they're talking about, oh, ooh, it's a retirement watch for LeBron. He does all this. It's so calculated. He's not going anywhere. He still wants to play with his kid, who I don't even personally think is that good. We'll see how he is at USC this year. Bronny. I mean, it's just his name. I don't see it, but he's going to play 1 year, and if LeBron is still with the Lakers, he's going to sign with the Lakers because that's the only way they're going to be able to keep LeBron, and that'll be that. And it's just so ridiculous. But I love that the Nuggets beat them 4-0. I thought that was fantastic. And the Nuggets, what's his name, Jokic, um, best player in the NBA. I truly, truly believe it. I mean, this is a guy at 7 feet tall, and he was 0.2 assists per game of making it a triple double for the season. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous that you can do that. But I watched a little bit of that game just because I knew that the Nuggets were up 3-0. And man, that guy can pass. He has just got vision I've never seen for somebody that size. It's really incredible, and it's fun to watch. So it was great to see that and watch the end of the game, especially. LeBron took the last two shots. One was like some kind of, I guess the clock was winding down. It was some kind of awkward uh, shot from the side, and I don't even know. Did it hit the side of the backboard? I don't even. It was an awful shot. It was just, I mean, it was rushed, so I guess we can forgive him for that. But then they come down, they give him the ball under the basket, and he gets stuffed and just walks off the court in misery, crying like a little baby. And I loved it. I just love to see when that happens. Now, the interesting thing about that is, LeBron has been really great and consistent throughout his career, especially in the playoffs. He's been really, really good in the playoffs. In the fourth quarter of the playoffs this year, he averaged 4.5 points, which is what you want from your go-to player. Shot 34% from the field, 5% from the three-point line. This was not a dominant performance. I'm sorry, but LeBron is getting old. He doesn't have it anymore. He's not the player that he once was. They had a nice little run here, but with LeBron the way he is now, you need to surround him with some massive, massive talent, and then hold your breath. I wouldn't want LeBron on my team. For no other reason besides the fact that I think his play is declining. He's just not that good. So congratulations to the Nuggets. I love the fact that they shut out the Lakers, and I will keep talking about it with anybody that'll listen. Let's go over to the other side. You had the Heat. Surprisingly, the Heat shouldn't even been here. And next thing you know, they're up 3-0 on the Celtics. But don't count the Celtics out. The Celtics are a great team. They've got Tatum and Brown, and those guys, man, those guys just light up. I mean, to me, Tatum is truly one of the most exciting young players in the game. I think he is absolutely fantastic. And then I guess their third star is Al Horford, who's been in the league for 16 years. I mean, can you believe that he's even around and still playing? I never really thought he was a great basketball player. I thought he was serviceable and he was decent for a big guy. He's made a lot of money in the NBA, and he's still playing after 16 years, which is pretty incredible. The Heat, on the other hand, they're an interesting story. I mean, they're really led by Jimmy Butler, but talking about a veteran presence on that team. I mean, Butler's been playing for 12 seasons. Kevin Love, I didn't even realize he was still playing basketball, let alone he's in the starting lineup for the Heat. This is his 15th season. And then who's their point guard? A guy that I had no idea that I knew he was on the Heat, Kyle Lowry, but I had no idea he's been in the league for 17 years already. My God, 17 years. And remember, he was a nice player. I think he went to Villanova, and he's had a nice career, and I think he did some really great things in Toronto. But again, he's getting older. The ability is still there, but he's like LeBron. He'll show up some nights, and then other nights he just won't show up. But it's interesting that it's now 3-2, and there's the next game, I guess, is tomorrow, which is Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Everybody thought, oh my God, the Celtics are in trouble, but this might be the first time that in the conference finals that somebody comes back from 3-0. So I'm very interested to see what happens in the next game, and then possibly game 7. I mean, you never know what's going to happen here. And it's interesting because You know how badly the NBA wanted the Lakers versus the Celtics. They were probably just drooling at the potential matchup. It's been a while. But you can't put your money on LeBron. I'm sorry. He just doesn't do it. He just doesn't do it. So anyway, so that's the basketball playoffs. I'm excited about that now that LeBron is out. I'm not going to watch it, but I'm excited to follow it and see what happens. Carmelo Anthony. It's so funny that a guy doesn't play for a year, right? He didn't get signed this year, so he didn't play. And now he announces his retirement. It's like, what were you waiting for, man? I mean, you wanted to see if there was still a market for you. Well, it turns out there's not. But, he's just, the passion isn't there. I've had enough. I'm ready to do something else. I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of Carmelo Anthony, the guy had a hell of a career. Um, he played for 6 teams. He averaged, 28. I don't even know what he averaged per game, but um, he scored 28,000 points in his career over 19 seasons. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, whatever you want to say. His son is a really solid NBA player. I can't remember what his first name is, but he's a point guard. He's really good. And I have to thank Carmelo for talking that recruit to going to IU because he played for Mike Woodson, who's the IU coach, and had nothing but great things to say about him. So if nothing else, I thank him for that. So thank you for doing that. And then last thing I wanted to mention, WNBA. You know, ever since I, ever since we interviewed Cappy Pondexter, I mean, I'm a huge fan of hers, and I do enjoy the WNBA more than I ever did before in the past. And one of my favorite all-time players is Breanna Stewart. I mean, how good can you be? I think when she was at Connecticut, I think 4 years, 4 championships, 4 MVPs. I mean, I think she may go down as the greatest women's basketball player ever. But anyway, so she switched teams. She's on the Liberty now, the New York Liberty. And in her first game, the opening game of the season, she scores 45 points and doesn't even play the fourth quarter. Wow. That's all I got to say. Wow. I mean, it's very rare that you see a WNBA player scoring that many points. But she's just showing you that I mean, she hasn't lost a step at all. She is just absolutely a phenomenal player. So really exciting to see that happening. I know Phil would be like, make some kind of noise about WNBA, but you know what? I appreciate their talent. And yeah, you know what? They'd probably, the top team there would probably lose to, the top high school basketball team for boys. Maybe, probably. But I still think it's exciting to watch, and you can't take that away from me. Major League Baseball. Man, I am excited about this season. And granted, it's a lot of it I think is because I'm an Orioles fan, but it's funny. If you had asked me before the season started, hey, 50 games into the season, who are going to be the top 3 teams? Who are the teams that have the best record in baseball? I would not have told you the Rays, the O's, and the Texas Rangers. Okay, not in a million years. Now, the Rays are always good. So they've just found the unbelievable way to win. But the Orioles have been a big surprise. And the interesting thing that I've seen is that Adley Rutschman just celebrated 1 year in baseball. And during that time, the Orioles have won 98 games. That's I mean, that's ridiculous for that team. And being that the Orioles right now are 33-17 with the second best record in baseball is pretty impressive. And it's interesting how they're getting it done. Their bullpen has been really good. They get good starting pitching a lot more than they get bad starting pitching. But it's interesting because, there's not a whole lot of superstardom on that team, but these guys just come through. You're not going to see any crazy stats among these guys, but it's like every day a different guy does it. Adley had a great streak there. He's kind of gone cold. Cedric Mullins is back to his all-star form. He's playing out of his mind. So overall, I think that things are just working out really well for those guys. And I actually think it's going to continue. I'm not going to say that they're going to win 105, 108 games, but I think they've got a legitimate shot of making the playoffs. Now, the tough part about that is that they're in the AL East, and the AL East is super, super competitive. It's funny because right now, if you take the 5 teams in the AL East, all 5 have winning records, which is ridiculous in itself. Their combined records are 152 and 103 for an almost 600 win percentage for a division. I mean, unbelievable. Compare that to the AL Central, whose combined wins of 106 and combined loss of 144 puts them at a .424 winning percentage. And they only have one team that's above 500 in that whole division. So it's funny how sometimes the placement of where you are in baseball helps to dictate where you're going to end up the season. If you look at the AL Central, if the O's were in the AL Central, they'd be running away. They'd be up by, I don't know, they'd have like an 8-game lead, which is a 7-game lead, which is pretty incredible. And then the third team, Texas Rangers, you know, they keep spending money every year, it seems like, and they keep spending more and more and more. And finally, it seems like they're putting it all together. I don't know how, but somehow they're actually playing really, really good ball this year. And I'd love to see that continue just because, it's interesting because, you kind of look at the O's and the Rangers on the opposite end of the spectrums. The Rangers believe in spending a ton of money in free agency and bringing in some good players, whereas the O's believe in spending virtually no money and trying to grow everybody internally, which is working out for them pretty well. If you look at the Orioles GM Mike Elias, he comes from Houston, in which they were doing the exact same thing, and they were good for a number of years and are still good all these years later. So we'll see if he's able to take this team and get them up to that next level. I mean, it's exciting for me. I mean, especially, I was a little nervous back-to-back series, one at Toronto and one at New York. They swept Toronto in Toronto. They won 2 of 3 from the Yankees. And to be honest with you, if they hadn't blown the save in the 9th inning of the first game, they would have swept the Yankees too. So this could be a legitimate Orioles team, which makes me happy. Can't argue with that. A couple other things. I found it interesting, and I'm not a real big fan of this, but turns out the Oakland A's are basically going to move to Las Vegas, which is a good thing. Las Vegas has become a real hotbed for sports, but you know, it's not really fair to the city of Oakland. You've got the A's that they put just a garbage team on the field. I think they've won 10 games all season right now. They're like 10 and 38 or something like that. you know, what do you expect? You've got an attendance of 3, 4, 5,000 people. I mean, you keep trading away your best players. Your younger guys just aren't working out. You know, what do you really expect fans to show up? Do you expect this team is going to make any money when you're just putting garbage on the field? I wouldn't want to go to a game either. So, oh, we're not getting the attendance and we're not making any money. And, sometimes you got to spend money to make money. And I'm not saying you got to go out and spend $300 million, but my God, do something, So to me, the A's have failed the city of Oakland. They failed their fans. And, them moving to Las Vegas is going to be a good thing. They're going to get a lot more people. They're going to make money, et cetera, et cetera. But, I hope for the fans' sakes, they're going to put a competitive product on the field. That's all that I'm looking for, because it's really poor when teams do that. You can't blame what's going on necessarily just on the city. I mean, you're just you've become a crappy franchise. You just have. I mean, it's the way that it is. And, if you're a crappy franchise, how can you expect anybody to follow you or to come to your games or support you in any way? I mean, look, you become the complete joke of baseball. So what do? You get up and you cry about it and you run to Las Vegas. And I can assure you that vote is going to get passed by the owners next month. And, we're going to have a pro baseball team in Las Vegas. It is what it is. Last thing I want to talk about was Ronald Acuna. Now, this is a guy who's had some injuries. I think it was last year, I think it was the year before. He was just on this I mean, torrid pace. And then he got injured and missed like the entire second half of the season. Well, last year, I think he was just kind of getting back into things. And this year, it turns out he is back to his old self. Here we are 50 games into the season. He's batting 332, 11 home runs, 27 RBIs. He's got 22 stolen bases, a 419 on base percentage. Um, he's walked 28 times and struck out 32 times. So this is a guy, I mean, you don't see that very often where, your strikeouts and your walks are about the same. I mean, this guy is a tough guy to get out. He's projected for the season at 211 hits, 49 doubles, 36 home runs, 87 RBIs, 71 stolen bases. Now, my question is, and I saw this article earlier, could he be the first 40-60 guy? It's interesting. It's interesting. He picks up his home run pace. That's a real possibility. And that is an absurd season, an absolutely absurd season. So, I'm down here in Atlanta, and Atlanta is my National League team. But man, he is really, really fun to watch. And I hope that he can continue to do the things that he's doing, because he's shown he is absolutely one of the best players in the game. I mean, definitely the best leadoff hitter. So all good stuff. NFL. There's always something to talk about in the NFL. That's why I love it so much. So Tom Brady, interestingly enough, has become a minority owner of the Oakland Raiders. Good for him. Interesting thing about that, he's only the third former player to own a professional football team. And this is a trivia question that I would ask for Phil, but of course he's not here. The other two, I knew the answer to this question just because it's me and I'm awesome. But one is George Halas, obviously, who I do have an autograph of, and I'm proud of that. The other one is a guy named Jerry Richardson, who I also have an autograph of. He played for the Colts. He was an offensive lineman in the late 50s, early 60s. I think he won a couple championships with them. And you might remember he was kind of forced out of the league. Who did he own? Did he own the Panthers? I want to say. I think he was a Panthers owner. But he was kind of forced out of the league for some things that he was doing. But congratulations to Tom Brady. Now, I hope as a result of you being an owner, you don't have to get the Mark Davis haircut, the bowl haircut where he's got the bangs across he's almost like the Mark Zuckerberg, where he's got like the cut where the bangs are like this. It looks so stupid, So how can you be that wealthy and have such a horrific haircut, which I put out there to Mark Davis and Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe it's in the name. Maybe our own money Mark will get his haircut, so he's got this stupid looking cut too. I don't know. But let's hope that Tom Brady, that's not what requirement of his ownership. And him being a minority owner, I mean, he could have put $100 in. Hey, here's $100. I'm a minority owner, and they're like, oh yeah, Tom Brady's on board. Let's make him the minority owner. So you never know how much he put in. I mean, I'm sure it was a little more than $100, but just to have him on board and just to have that name associated with the team, I think is probably what they were going for. Number one pick, Bryce Young. So I think there's a lot of concerns about Bryce Young, and I think they were saying that once he starts, he may be like literally the smallest quarterback ever. I think he's listed on his team at 5'10", 204. I don't even know if he's 5'10", let's be honest. I mean, he looks more like he's 5'3", but they're already showing in practice him having balls batted down. You're that small, you're going up against guys that are 6'5", 6'7", whatever. That's gonna happen. I mean, it's a big risk. I know that he's got an arm. I know that he's a really smart player. He's a really great player. But is that really going to translate to the next level? And that's going to be the big question. Is this guy, is he going to be able to, first off, see over the offensive line, defensive line? Is he going to be able to throw over them? That's the real question. And I don't know if the answer is yes. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, they're truly going to have to figure out how to create passing lanes for him or get him moving out of the pocket a little bit, But if they do that, then you're kind of setting yourself up for disaster. Think about it. If you're creating a passing lane where you're blocking guys a certain way to open it up, then the defense is going to know where you're throwing the ball. But I assure you, anybody that's playing against him, they're just going to be putting their arms up the whole time. It's like, okay, you know what? We're rushing the quarterback. All we're going to be doing is looking to jump and get in his way and try to bat down balls. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really 50-50 on this. And for as good of a prospect as he is, I watched him a lot in college, and I do think he's a really, really good player. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would take a guy like that with the number one pick. And listen, I like him. I hope he proves me wrong, but man, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous number one pick if you ask me. But that's just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I hope he does well. And Adrian Peterson, he had to come out and say, "Hey guys, I'm not officially retired. Nobody wants me, but I'm not officially retired at age 38." I think his agent has been going around and saying, "Listen, I promise he won't be hitting you with a stick if he comes on. He only does that for 4-year-old little boys. So you guys really have nothing to worry about." But at 38, I mean, I don't know how much this guy has left in the tank. I mean, every time I don't think he does, he comes on and he'll put a decent game together here or there, but he just doesn't have the speed that he once had. He just doesn't have the ability. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's had an unbelievably great career, but you know, sometimes it's just enough is enough. It's time to go. You don't need to stick around forever. I mean, when you have to announce to people that you're not retired yet, I mean, what do you think that means? You think there's a lot of want to have you play? I don't think so. I don't think so. And then, you know, um, the funniest comment that I heard this week was Patrick Mahomes, right? So he was quoted as saying his priorities is his legacy and winning rings, not money. All right. So I don't I mean, it's almost comical when a guy says that, right? And it's the guys that say that are only the ones that are making just a truckload of money. I mean, this is a guy that basically signed a 10-year, $500 million contract, right? So he's making $50 million. Only a guy making $50 million comes out and says that the priority isn't about money. I mean, come on. I mean, if you're signing for the league minimum, okay, yeah, you know what, I just want to win championships and that's why I'm signing for the league minimum. It's one thing. You're telling me that that's your priority when you're making $50 million a year. Dude, go fly a kite, man. Go fly a kite. I just, you know what? I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. I mean, yeah, I think he's a great quarterback and all, and I think he's going to have just monster numbers if he stays healthy by the time he retires. But dude, come on. Come on. You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling making $50 million a year. Go fly a kite, dude. That's all I'm saying. And then the last thing that I want to mention, and this one really the whole story really bothers me, and that is Matt Araiza. We all know he was known as the punt god. He's got this leg and he can just kick the ball higher, farther. Just I mean, he's the way the things that he can do with his leg are just unbelievable. So you all remember what was the beginning before last season? He was signed with the Bills. He had like $1 million contract, and he was accused of rape while he was in college at San Diego State. And basically, almost immediately, the Bills cut him, and he's put on the defensive. And people are starting to think of things about him. His reputation is damaged. Well, turns out the San Diego Police Department did a 1-year investigation of what happened. And what they concluded, basically, from my understanding, is that yes, he did have consensual sex with this woman, but when she says that this alleged gang rape took place, they found that he wasn't even in the building. He wasn't even there. He was sitting at home. He had already left. And so that whole thing fell apart, and they found that, that this accusation was unfounded, and basically that this girl lied. I mean, that's what it came down to. And it brings up a really interesting thought, and that is just because somebody is accused of something, do you automatically take the accuser's word? And there's always two sides to every story. So to me, it's really unfortunate, and I think that's the way our society has become, where you get accused of something, and next thing you know, your life is ruined. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, and I think that's a pretty crappy thing. But I am proud that my Jets have brought him in to give him a shot, and I really hope that he makes the team. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's just not fair. It's just not fair. It's not fair that somebody lies. I mean, what was the point of ruining this guy's life? I mean, you've ruined his life, and now he's got to work extra hard to repair his damaged reputation for something he didn't do. So as just the world we're living in right now, it's I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, think about it. That could happen to any of us. You know, somebody mentions you're at a party, you leave, somebody mentions that you did something when you weren't involved in it, and next thing think about it. You lose your family, you lose your job, you lose your livelihood, you lose your reputation, and then they find out it's not true. Well, you know what? I mean, it's already too late. You can't get that stuff back. So I'm hopeful for his sake that he is able to get himself back to where he was and show that he actually is a good guy, even though I mean I don't see anything wrong with what he did personally. So it's unbelievable, but good for you Jets for bringing this guy in. And honestly, I hope he makes the team. I really do. He's a tremendous, tremendous punter. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And along those lines of things that I just don't quite understand. George Washington has been known as the George Washington Colonials for, I don't know. I mean, as long as I can even remember. I mean, it's probably been, 100 years or whatever. Um, and recently, 530 students objected to the extremely offensive moniker of colonials, which has a deep connection to the colonization and glorifies the act of systematic oppression. I didn't realize that. I didn't feel that way over the last 100 years. I don't know why all of a sudden, oh, this really bothers us. You know what? Then don't go there. Don't go there. So anyway, so GW has decided to change their name from the GW Colonials to the Revolutionaries. So now they're the GW Revolutionaries until, you know, this time next year when somebody has a problem with the Revolutionaries. So, oh man, I can't take the world that we're living in. And when it moves over to sports, if you want to do your own thing, that's fine. But sports is supposed to be a place, supposed to be a safe haven for everybody. And now all of a sudden everybody is, oh, my feelings are hurt, this and that. I mean, I'm not going to get political, but I don't want to see it in sports. That's all that I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you're left, if you're right, if you're center, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to see it in sports. Leave that out of it. Leave your views to yourself. Let's take advantage of the one thing that can bring us all together, and that's sports. And that's all I'm saying about that. Last thing that I wanted to mention was Jim Brown. Now, I was never a huge fan of Jim Brown. I don't even know why. I mean, he's a hell of a football player, and I really liked him in The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right? So he did some acting in his time too, which was pretty cool. But you know, the more that I looked into him after he passed away, he just passed away the other day at age 87. The more I looked into him, the more that I realized how much I respect him as a football player and how I mean, I'm a diehard Walter Payton fan and I love Walter Payton, but I think that Jim Brown is probably the best running back ever, probably the best that we'll ever see. You're talking about a guy, I mean, he was 6'2", 232. So this guy he was just a load to begin with, okay? Running backs were not that big so he was probably tough He's probably tough to take down, but in 9 seasons, he played 118 games, never missing a game. He played every game in every season. So in his 9 seasons, let's think about this. He won 4 MVPs. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler. He finished in the top 4 of MVP voting 8 times in his 9 seasons. He was an 8-time rushing champ, 8-time rushing champ, 5-time touchdown leader, 8-time leader in yards per game, 6-time leader in total yards from scrimmage. This guy rushed for 12,312 yards in 9 seasons, 126 touchdowns, 5.2 career average per carry, and 104.3 yards per game. All records that have not been broken and probably never will. Nobody's going to average 104 yards. I mean, now think about it, in 17 games, if you rush for 1,000 yards, you're great. And what is that? 62 yards a game, something like that. I mean, that's not impressive. So what he did was impressive. And I don't think we're ever going to see somebody like that. There's some great running backs, but great running backs come and go, especially nowadays. Running backs get injured left and right. And it's very rare that somebody sticks around for as long as he did and was dominating. I mean, all the way through his last season, he was dominating. He retired at age 29, and he was incredible. And people don't realize one of the really interesting things about him that I learned was that he actually went to Syracuse on a lacrosse scholarship. He actually was one of the best lacrosse players in the country at Syracuse. So he played lacrosse and he played football, which is really odd. But I never really cared for the guy personally. But looking back at his career, I mean, I have nothing but respect for what that guy was able to achieve, and that was probably the last time the Browns were even any good back when he played. They were phenomenal in the like in the 50s and I guess even the early 60s before the Super Bowl era. So anyway, that's all I got today. I just had a few things on my mind, and um, I've enjoyed talking to everybody, and I hope that everybody has a really nice holiday weekend. I know I'm enjoying the upcoming 3-day weekend, and all good stuff. My oldest Brooke is up at New Jersey visiting her friend Ella, and my youngest has 2 dance recitals this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And I always enjoy going to the dance recitals. The only problem is, being that she takes multiple classes, she's in 2 shows. The second show, she's actually number 26 in line. So basically, she's at the very end of the show. I think there's 28 dances total. So, as much as I enjoy watching the dancing, I don't know if I'm too excited about sitting through 25 dances just waiting for her to go, or 24 dances, whatever it is. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So I enjoy watching her dance, and it's fun. She does a really nice job, and I know she enjoys it, and I'm really proud of watching that. So that'll be fun. But have a great holiday weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I hope everybody is doing well, and hope everybody enjoys whatever they're doing. And with any luck, one of these days, hopefully we'll get Phil back, and you guys won't just have to listen to me babble on for half an hour or 40 minutes. I don't even know how long it's been. But have a great weekend, everybody, from Phil and the mic, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.